and welcome back to the channel, guys. Today's a very good video for you all. It is my Premier League predictions for the upcoming season, which starts on Friday. So I'll be going from 20th to 1st of where I think the teams will finish in the Premier League. I think that's the best way of doing it to keep you interested. So let's begin. So in 20th place, I'm going with Sheffield United. And I feel like what they've done before the start of the season is not really good at all. They've sold probably their two best players in Illerman and Jai and Sanderberg. So Njai's gone to Marseille and Sanderberg is going to be going to Burnley as he's completed his medicals today. So I don't think it's the best decision from Sheffield United to get rid of your two best players, especially when you're back in the Prem. And I was actually quite excited to see how Njai would do in the Premier League because he's been very good in the Championship for the last couple of seasons. But obviously he favoured a move back to his boyhood club, so fair enough. And Sanderberg is a quality player, I think, for Sheffield United. I think he was linked with a couple of Premier League clubs a few seasons ago, and he stuck with them. So he's obviously got a bit of experience still from the Championship to make him play better. So, yeah, I don't think it's the best call from Sheffield United to let them two go because they have got players in this summer, but I haven't really heard of them, to be honest. A couple of young players, but I don't think they've replaced them well. They've got weaker in a way, so I can't see Sheffield United doing very well this season. If they get at least 5 wins, I'll be very surprised, but it'll be very difficult to get wins this season because of the other teams around them and the fact that Sheffield United have weakened themselves even more, which ain't the best decision, being that they're back in the Prem for the first time in like 3 years. So 19th place, I'm going to go with Luton Town. Now, I don't necessarily think Luton Town are going to be a team that's going to be relegated early. I think they're going to try and battle quite hard to be out the relegation zone. They have made some quite smart signings, like you've seen before in the past when teams got relegated. Like, for example, Norwich have done it a couple of times. Fulham have when they were last relegated. They tend to buy players for a bit of money. Like, they spend a lot of money. They make close to maybe a dozen signings or so, maybe. Luton haven't really gone down that approach. They've done something similar to almost like Brentford have, really. Almost like Moneyball. They've just signed players on cheap, really. Not relatively unknown, because I think some of the players that Luton have signed are quite known, but they haven't really gone overboard with the money they've spent. Like they signed Tahith Chong from Birmingham City, who used to be at Manchester United. He was good in the Championship. Issa Kabore, young right wing back from Man City, who played at Marseille last season. Wasn't too bad, I don't think. He had a few games under his belt, but I think playing regularly in Luton will probably help him. Marvelous Nakamba, he's now on a permanent deal. He was a standout player in their midfield last season in their playoff charge, and they obviously won. They signed Ogbane from Rotherham. Haven't really heard much about him, to be honest. And just today, they've signed Ross Barkley, so I think that's a quite smart signing. I think it's on for an undisclosed fee, because I think he was still under contract at Nice. I think he left in June, so he might have been a free agent. So there hasn't really been much detail about that transfer yet because it's literally just happened a few minutes ago. But I think what Luton are doing is quite smart. They are a well-run club. It'll be great to see how they do at Kenilworth Road. I'm not sure if they're still going to be playing there yet because I know they've got to spend some money to improve it. I think they've got some improvements to make. If they are to play at Kenilworth Road or wherever, if they do, then that home atmosphere is going to test a few big teams, I think. But yeah, Luton won't be like a terrible team in the Prem. I think they'll give it a good go. I think they'll stick with Rob Edwards the whole way. But I don't think it'll be easy for them to stay up. I don't think their team is enough really to keep them up for this season. You never know. I hope they really do, to be honest, so it keeps more new teams in the Prem, because I don't really like it, like many others will say, having the same teams go up and down yo-yo situation. So yeah, I think Luton will go down. The last team I think will go down. Now, it took me a bit of thinking just before I made this video, as well as where other teams will finish a couple of places above the relegation zone. But I have decided to go Everton in 18th because I know they signed Danjuma. I know he wasn't really successful at Spurs, but because he wasn't being played. If he can play regularly, which I think he's definitely going to, I think Sean Dyche will definitely play him as their main forward. If he hits the ground running, gets quite a few goals in, and I think he will try and help Everton. I don't really think Everton have strengthened majorly apart from that. I know they signed Ashley Young, who's an experienced player, but they haven't really signed elsewhere. I know Demarai Gray might be leaving. Apart from that, I don't think anyone else is going to be leaving. I know Pickford's staying. But it's pretty much the same squad, and that same squad struggled most of the season last season. Yes, they might stay up if they have like players like Decore, McNeil, Tarkowski hitting form, but I don't really know how this is going to pan out because I think that the other teams around them are going to do much better, and I have to wait and see, to be honest, because I don't really think Everton are strengthened enough to stay up. Um, it just depends really. If Demarai Gray goes in, I'll obviously need a replacement for him. But Everton have not really been linked with anyone much apart from that. They were linked with Ismail Assar in the past, didn't get him. They were linked with Gyökeres a few times. I think they're in talks today with Hugo Ekitike. If they get him, then that's a good signing. But I don't think Everton have strengthened that much, to be honest. We'll have to wait and see. But I think it will be quite close. I hope Everton give it their best. But yeah, it's not really been a massive transfer window for Everton. I mean, Young was a good signing. He was very good for Villa last season. He'll give experience to the team that Sean Dyche has. 17th, I was actually thinking about it quite a lot over the last day or two, really, because it's hard to say who's going to go where. But after thinking, I'm going to go Bournemouth in 17th. Now, I don't think they're going to go down. The signings they have made are not too bad. They signed Justin Kluivert, who's experienced all across Europe. He's played for Roma, Valencia, Nice as well. He's played in the Netherlands as well, so he has got European experience. But the fact he's been on loan, will he want a higher wage? I don't know. Depends if he plays, really. I'm not sure how he's going to do. Like, he hasn't been like a world-class player. He's obviously, the roof was quite high for him, because he's obviously the son of Patrick Kluivert, who's obviously a fantastic player. I think the expectations are really high for Justin Kluivert, but I think the fact he's gone on loan, I think it has lowered his potential a bit. But if he's playing for a team like Bournemouth, which are lower down in the Prem, maybe it'll get the best out of him. I don't know. They've got a new manager as well, Andoni Iraola, who did quite well for Rayo Vallecano in the few seasons he spent there. But can he adjust to the Premier League as a young manager? I don't know. Maybe if I say something, it'll bite back and he might actually do all right. I don't think Bournemouth will go down because I think, from what I've seen in pre-season, they haven't been too bad. And I think they might be in talks with Joachim Mailer, but I know Wolfsburg are after him. If Dortmund do get Joachim Mailer and they play him on that right back side, that back line is not too bad, to be honest. I don't think they'll go down. I think they will be all right. I think they will just stay up. I think it will just about keep them up, to be honest. But I don't think they'll do as better because obviously Gary O'Neill was there before. He's just gone to Wolves today. I do have a feeling that the players won't feel as positive. I don't know, because obviously they spoke very highly of Gary O'Neill. Like when he was in caretaker charge, they were really happy with him in the job and they wanted him to stay, which he did until the end of the season when he was sacked. I didn't agree with the sacking at the time, but I guess it's probably because the new owners, Bill Foley and his group, they obviously, new owners want a new manager for a new challenge, I suppose. So maybe that was why. So maybe the dressing room atmosphere might feel a little bit different, but I think Bournemouth fans have been quite happy with the performances in pre-season. But we'll have to wait and see. Bournemouth, I think, won't be in a good position as last season towards the end when Gary O'Neill did very well keeping them up. So yeah, I'll have to wait and see. 16th, I'm going to go Nottingham Forest. Now, I don't think there'll be much of a relegation battle as last season because it was a very weird summer for Nottingham Forest because they obviously had a lot of loan players who played for them in the Championship the season before they came up. And they obviously had to replace all of them with so many signings. I think it was close to 25 signings, maybe close to 30, including the ones in January. But now some of them have gone, like Andre Ayew has gone. Who else has gone? You've got Keylor Navas, who's gone back. Dean Henderson, who's gone back. Lodi. So, to be fair, the squad is not as big now as it was last season. And I think that might benefit Nottingham Forest because obviously if you have too many players in one squad, then it's too much to deal with. You have to gel them all together and make sure they're all doing well, really. And it was a quite tough challenge for Steve Cooper, and I think he managed that really well. But now the fact I think he's got a more balanced squad, and I think there's less players to deal with in the squad, I think they will play much better as a team because I felt like Steve Cooper had to change his 11 quite a lot to fit all the players in his team. Because I think they had maybe 25 players, maybe 2 players in each position, and sometimes maybe 3 in most positions. So it's very difficult to play everyone all at the same time, really. But now Forest have got a bit more squad depth and it's more balanced, really. I think they will play much better football and I think they will survive comfortably, a bit more comfortably this season. I can't really see them being in the relegation zone. I think their signings have been relatively good. They've signed Matt Turner today, who I think will be a good option as their number one keeper. He wasn't really a bad backup for Arsenal. He did well when he was needed. They signed Anthony Elanga from Manchester United. Obviously, he did very well at the end of not last season, but the season before that. They've also signed Ola Aina, who is experienced with Fulham, versatile fullback who can play as a wing back as well. So that's not a bad signing either. So yeah, I think the fact that Forest have got a more they've got a more balanced squad and they've got less players in the squad to deal with. I think that will benefit not just the players but Steve Cooper as well, because it'll be an easy situation for him because he doesn't have all players to deal with to play them every week and every week. You know what I mean, like switching them about. So yeah, I'm going to put Forest in 16th. Now 15th, I'm going to go with Wolves. Obviously, it's been a very difficult summer. Lopetegui left yesterday. Gary O'Neill's been appointed today. So I don't think that's a bad appointment, to be honest. Like, when I first saw the name, I thought at first, I don't know. But you know what? Thinking about it, he isn't the worst option in the world because you saw how he did with Bournemouth last season. He did very well. He was praised very well, to be honest. So at least he has the kind of experience to get a team out of the relegation zone. Obviously, I'm disappointed Lopetegui's gone, but he was complaining quite a bit. I know that he was promised they would sign players for him if he kept them up, but obviously financial fair play got in the way, and he was complaining quite a bit, to be honest. I mean, I'm a bit 50-50 on this. I mean, Lopetegui was the right call to go, I suppose. He should have just dealt with the situation he had, really. It was, well, past investment is to blame, but it is what it is. He can't sign the players. We've got to sell more, but obviously no one will want the players that we want to sell. Like, no one will want Johnny because he's not that great. Pedence, I think he was linked with Real Betis, but I don't think that's going to happen now. He was put back in the matchday squad for the match against Rennes last week. So, I mean, if you look at our starting 11, Wolves starting 11, it's actually not too bad. On paper, it's close to being a top 10 team, or it should be a top 10 team, really, with the experience they've got in the team. Like, Kilman's good, Dawson, who was brilliant last season. You've got João Gomez, who I think is going to have a fantastic season. He'll be the replacement for Neves for sure. Lamina, experience. Neto, good. Fabio Silva, I'm looking forward to see how he does, and especially Mateus Cunha if he plays behind Silva or Kalajdzic, because that's where he's going to be playing better instead of being in the number 9 role, which is not his forte. And then you've got Pablo Sarabia, obviously experienced, not set the world alight, but at the starting 11, and Matheus Nunes as well, who I think will break through a lot better this season. Starting 11 wise, it's not too bad, but the problem is, if we get a couple of injuries, it's very worrying because the depth is not there. There's been no replacements yet for the players who've been sold, like Cody, Collins, Neves, Jimenez. Well, Jimenez doesn't really need to be replaced because we're going to play one striker in the team anyway, and that'll be Kalajdzic or Silva. So it's just a fact if Wolves get a couple of injuries, it's going to be very worrying because we'll have to turn to youngsters and our squad will be very limited. But I trust Gary O'Neill. I think he'll do all right. I don't think we'll be in trouble. I think I do worry a little bit because obviously Lopetegui's gone. We can't sign anyone, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm putting Wolves 15th. I think we will survive, but I think it will be quite challenging. And we just need to hope there's no injuries, really. 14th, I'm going to go with Crystal Palace. Now, this is good. I was thinking about this earlier, but my opinion changed basically on the fact that they might keep their two best players, in my opinion, and that's Elise and Eze, because Elise's got a value of like 35 million. He's been linked with Man City and Chelsea. Eze, he obviously did very well from last season. Now, the main reason why I was thinking about this quite a lot, because I was almost going to switch Palace and Bournemouth and them teams around, really, but then I thought about it, and obviously Zaha's gone, so it's going to be quite strange for Palace because they've had Zaha at the club for so many years. So a full season without him might feel a bit difficult. However, if you think about it, when Zaha was injured because when Roy Hodgson came back for the last 8-10 games, wherever it was, Zaha was injured for quite a few games of those. Yeah, he was out for a few games. But Eze and Elise stepped up to the plate, and it was almost as like it was no trouble at all. And if they keep both of them, I know Hodgson said that it might be difficult to keep Elise, but if he does stay, and Eze does stay, and Matthias Franke, the guy who they've probably brought in to replace Zaha, if Eze and Elise carry Palace again, then it might not seem a bad situation. It might not seem as difficult. So Palace, I think, will finish 14th. I don't necessarily think they'll be in a relegation scrap because I think they need to rely on Elise and Eze to stay, really. Eze will definitely stay. It's just a matter of fact of whether Elise does or not. If they do, then they'll be fine. If not, then I think it will be a bit more difficult. But I'm only saying 14th because they're both there right now. And I think at least they could. 13th place, I'm going to go West Ham United. Now, I can't really see much improvement off last season, to be honest. David Moyes is still there. I mean, he deserves to still be there, but I mean, if West Ham want to get back into Europe, I don't think they will. They need to invest wisely with the money they got for Declan Rice, and it seems like they are doing that. Like today, they've been on fire, really. They've agreed £30 million deal for Harry Maguire. That'll probably be confirmed as a new signing very soon. James Ward-Prowse as well, 30 million for him. That's a good signing as well. They need midfielders, really. And they have got their Declan Rice replacement sorted as well. Edson Alvarez, someone they've been linked with before as well, because obviously Declan Rice was linked with moves away ages ago. So getting Alvarez in, I think, is a good signing, to be honest. Good replacement. They've spent the money well so far. If they can get a couple more replacements in, maybe a winger and maybe an attacking midfielder, because obviously Paqueta's been linked when they moved to Man City. Guardiola sees him as a very good player. City, I think, put a bid in about 70 million. I think his release clause is valid next year. I think it's about 85 million. I can't really see West Ham improving much off last season, but I think the money they'll spend is going to be a lot better this season. They've got money to spend from Declan Rice. So yeah, I can't really see vast improvement, but I think they'll do a little bit better with the players they'll get in. So 13th is where I'm going to put West. 12th, I'm going to say Burnley. Now, I think Burnley are one of the surprise packages we need to watch this season. I think they're going to be one of the underdogs. Now, yeah, Burnley, I think they're in a good position to stay up for a couple of years. I mean, if they didn't have Vincent Kompany, I don't know what would happen to them. Vincent Kompany, I think he's the kind of manager to keep them up. I think he's going to be good for them. Like, I think the experience he's got as a player, the managers he's had, the kind of attitude he has as a young manager, the squad he has. They haven't really had a bad transfer window. They signed James Trafford, Dara O'Shea, Nathan Redmond. They're set to sign Sander Berger. So it's not really been a bad transfer window. And they've also got a couple of good young players as well. For example, Jordan Bayer, Josh Cullen, Josh Brownhill is still quite good. They've also got Anas Aruri and Manuel Benson. Them two are going to be massive players to watch out for Burnley this season. I'm looking forward to see how they do. And they also might be getting Mohamed Daramy from Ajax as well. So I think Kompany is a good manager to keep them up. I don't necessarily think they'll struggle. I just think the fact that with Kompany in charge, the attitude he's got, I think he can get this team to a solid, close to mid-table position. So I think Burnley will finish 12th. Fulham is the team I'm going to put in 11th. So Fulham in 11th for me. They were going to get rid of Mitrovic, I know that. Doesn't look like that might not be happening now. The signings Fulham have made so far this summer have been quite good. They've signed Raul Jimenez for about 7 million, 5 million, I think it was actually. So that's not a bad signing. I mean, I think that signing was made in case Mitrovic leaves. If he does leave, then it's not the best replacement, but obviously Jimenez's injury has affected him. But I think sending him to a different environment might help him. They've also signed Calvin Bassey as their new centre-back. That's probably because Tosin might leave. Bassey, I don't think he adapted well at Ajax, but when he was at Rangers, he was very good, and I think Marco Silva can get the best out of him. And another thing to think about is Willian might be leaving as well. He signed a new deal with Fulham a couple of weeks ago, and now he's in talks with Al-Shabaab, so it's difficult to say if they can replace him. But I think they will, because they're linked with Hudson-Odoi and Damari Gray, so if they can get a replacement in for Willian, then I think they'll be fine. I think the squad Fulham have got at the minute anyway is fine anyway. They won't be in a relegation zone with that squad. Like Pellegrini was brilliant last season. Pereira, I think, was underrated last season as well. Burnley, I know, was fantastic. So I think Fulham won't be necessarily in a dangerous position. I think they'll stay almost in the same kind of place they were last season, to be honest. I think Marco Silva made the right call not going to Saudi Arabia. So I think Fulham will stay 11th. So that's 11 to 20. That's the bottom half done, 11 to 20. Now we'll move on to the top half. 10th place, I'm going to go with Brentford. Now, I know they haven't got Ivan Toney for the first 6 months of the season because he's banned till January. I think it's the first 6 months. Well, it's the first half of the season anyway. I don't think Brentford are going to really struggle. I mean, they were without Ivan Toney for most of the last... last few games of the season anyway, and they beat Tottenham and they beat Manchester City. So they've relied on Brian Mbumo to cover for Tony in the attack, and he's been quite an underrated player for them. I think he's been heavily underrated for Brentford for the last couple of seasons. Johan Visser as well. I think them two are going to be heavily relied on in Tony's absence, and I think they're definitely capable of that. They've made a couple of good signings as well. Brentford. They've sold David Raya. Well, they are going to. A deal was agreed with Arsenal yesterday for 30 million, and they've got Mark Flecken in play. They got Mark Flecken just after the season ended, so that's a good. They got a replacement lined up for him anyway. They've also signed Nathan Collins, who wasn't too bad at Wolves, but I think he'll do better at Brentford. I think it would be a good. It's a good signing for Brentford. Now, do they need a striker? I don't know. If they are going to keep with like Mbuma and Visser in a front two, which could be possible if they play a back three. But I don't think Brentford are going to fall off, really. I think the way they make their transfers and the way they play football and the way they run, I think they are a very enjoyable team to watch. And they haven't really necessarily sold anyone, really, apart from David Raya, who is going to go probably later this week. So I think Brentford will stay comfortably in the mid-table positions, and I don't think they're going to be in a relegation zone at all. They're going to be very comfortable, and I think they'll finish 10th. Ninth place, it was a bit tough to think about this, but I'm going with Brighton in ninth. Now, I'm thinking about like Brighton, will they focus on like Europa League more? It's very difficult to say. I think they will have a good run, and it also depends on what happens with Moises Caicedo, because obviously the saga is he wants to leave. He was left out the last pre-season squad they had. Now it's just a question really of whether the Europa League will get in their way, and that's what I'm really going to talk about really with European competitions and the next few teams I've got listed in the table for my predictions. Brighton have had a very good transfer window. They've signed Mahmoud Dahoud, a very experienced European midfielder from Dortmund, James Milner, Bert Verbruggen from Anderlecht, João Pedro, who was good for Watford, and Igor as well from Fiorentina. So they've made some quite good signings. I'm just concerned it's the fact that the attention they'll have on Europe might get in their way. But you never know, they could adapt to it quite well. If they have a good run in Europe, then it will give them a lot of confidence. But I'm just have this feeling that Europe might get in their way a little bit, and they might finish a little bit below where they were last season. If they do finish ninth, it ain't a bad season for them really, but we'll have to wait and see. So Brighton in ninth. In eighth place, I'm going to go Aston Villa, and it's pretty much the same reason as what I said for Brighton. Will they focus more on Europe this season? But to be fair, Villa have made some fantastic signings this summer. They've signed Pau Torres from Villarreal, someone they were after for a while. They've also signed Yuri Tielemans on a free, so I think they've made good business there. Yeah, I mean, like I said with Brighton, it's almost similar kind of positions. That's why I put them a bit lower down compared to when they finished last season, to be honest. It's just whether the fact Europe will get in their way. Villa won't have a bad season. They'll be quite good. I just think with Tottenham not having Europe this season, they'll play a lot better. And I think Villa's focus on Europe might get in their way a little bit, especially if they have a bit of fatigue and injuries, which is almost why I've had the same reason for them and Brighton. So Villa's a team. Seventh, I'm going to go with Tottenham. I think they will play better this season. They need to kind of think about what will happen with Harry Kane, because there's been very difficult talks with Bayern Munich. They put in 3 bids for him right now. A 4th bid might be coming up soon, close to £95 million. Will Tottenham accept? Probably not, because Daniel Levy won't want to sell him, obviously. He's trying to keep Kane hostage in a way. Postecoglou, I think, will get the steady the ship for Tottenham. I don't think they'll necessarily have a European charge, like a massive one, getting into Europa League. But I think a 7th place finish is more realistic in my opinion. Like, I think Tottenham will improve slightly. The transfers they've made this season have been alright. They haven't really been overboard yet. They've signed Vicario, new keeper, who seems to be doing alright. Pedro Porro and Kulusevski are on permanent. It'll be interesting to see how they do. They've signed Mickey van der Ven, new centre-back, which they desperately need. They probably need another one as well, because they cannot rely on Eric Dyer and like Sanchez and Tanganga being the backups. They definitely need another centre-back. It'll be interesting to see if Postecoglou uses that youngster Ashley Phillips, which I think could happen. I mean, if they got him, then obviously Postecoglou praises a young player, and I think Postecoglou's use of young players back at Celtic will help him. with the players they've got at Spurs. Like Van der Ven's only 21. Destiny Udogie, he looks like he's doing well in pre-season. He's a young left wing back who'll probably play left back in the back four. Maddison was signed as well. I think he'll be a key piece to Tottenham's attack this season. They've needed an attacking midfielder for so long since Eriksen left. They've probably found a replacement for him. And it's interesting to see what I think will happen with Richarlison. If Kane leaves, I think Richarlison's going to have a really good season. I think he'll have like 15 goals at least. But yeah, Tottenham won't have a major European charge, but I think they'll finish in 7th. Newcastle is the team I've put in 6th place. Now, it's another pretty much similar reason to why I put Villa and Brighton further down, and it's to focus on Champions League football. Now, Newcastle's starting 11 is ridiculous. I mean, they've got Tonali on a permanent, Harvey Barnes, good replacement for Saint-Maximin, and they've got Tino Livramento, who I think is a good backup option because he was quite good for Southampton. But if you look at the backups across the pitch, I'm not sure, especially in defence, when you've got Dan Burn at left back, who's been really good. But then what if he gets injured? You've got to play Matt Targett, who hasn't played much football for Newcastle, really. He's just been on the bench most of the time. Then you've got, I mean, the main position I'm worried about for Newcastle for injuries is centre-back. Because you've got Botman and Schär, who are their two key centre-backs. But then if they get injured, or one of them gets injured, you'll have to play Jamal Lascelles or like Paul Dummett. Imagine them in the Champions League. I mean, you wouldn't have thought of that ages ago. But I'm just concerned that Champions League focus might get in their way a bit, and it might hinder them from getting top 4 again. But I think they'll be in Europe again, 100%. So yeah, Newcastle is the team I'm putting in 6th place. So 5th place, I'm going Chelsea. So I think Chelsea are going to be quite good this season. I actually think they'll have a few glimpses in the top 4 this season. I think they're definitely a team to watch out for. They've been brilliant in pre-season. I think Pochettino is going to get the best out of the new squad that he's got. I am excited to see how Chelsea do now. Yeah, they'll definitely improve massively. Couple of players to look out for. Nicholas Jackson especially. Now, question is, will they get Vlahovic and that Lukaku swap deal done? I don't know. Juventus fans don't really want him, to be honest. Would Vlahovic be good at Chelsea? I don't know. I mean, I'm more interested to see how Nicholas Jackson does, to be honest, because he's been very good in pre-season. I think he scored 4 goals in the summer series this summer. So he'll be dangerous to watch out for. Mudryk, I think he'll be very lethal this season. He'll be exciting to watch. And it all really depends if Chelsea get a holding midfielder, to be honest. Caicedo, that saga's been going on for a while. They've been linked with Tyler Adams as well. And also Levi Colwill will be one to watch out for in the defence as well. I think Chelsea have got a good team to build on. They might need a couple more signings, in my opinion. I think they still need a midfielder or two, maybe a striker, and maybe another attacking midfielder. I don't know, because obviously Nkunku's out for nearly 3 months. So, yeah, Chelsea I think will improve massively, and I do think they'll battle for top 4, but I think they'll just miss out and finish 4th. I'm going Manchester United. They've had a solid transfer window. They've obviously got in Rasmus Højlund. I don't think he'll hit the ground running straight away. I don't think he'll necessarily be a flop. I think he'll probably get at least 10, 15 goals, probably 10 at least. I don't know. But as a young striker, he didn't really score many goals last season for Atalanta. I think it was 10 in 30 games. I think he had 20 starts in that time. So I think it might give him a bit of time to adjust, but I don't think he'll necessarily be that bad. I think Onana was probably their best signing out of the lot they've got so far, because he will definitely have a better impact on the way they play because of the kind of keeper they've got. Obviously, De Gea wasn't good with his distribution or anything last season, and Ten Hag clearly wants a keeper who has that, and that's why they got Onana. So I think the fact that he's going to play out the back and his distribution is going to be a lot better. But I think, Liverpool might overtake them this season. I just have this feeling Liverpool are going to do a lot better. But I think United will definitely finish in top 4, 100%. I'm going to put United Liverpool is a team I'm going to put in 3rd place. Now, I have a feeling Liverpool are going to do very well this season. Yeah, they might need another midfielder or two, but I just think if they don't get any injuries and maybe need another centre-back as well, I just think Liverpool are going to be ones to watch. They had that brilliant run. I think it was 7 games they won in a row at last stage of last season. So, I mean, Gakpo was good. Nunez, I think he'll be a lot better this season. I think he's one to watch out for most improved player next season. And you got Diogo Jota, who was back in form. it'll be interesting to see how Trent does. Will he play in the midfield three? Will he play at right back? It looks like he'll stick to that new role he's got at right back. But if he plays the way he was at the end of last season, I think they'll be lethal to watch. I think Liverpool are going to be very dangerous this season. If they do get another midfielder or two, they've been linked with Lavia. They are trying to get close to that 50 million price tag. But I just have this feeling Liverpool are going to come back this season and do very well. And I think they will get top four confirmed quite early. So yeah, I think Liverpool will finish there. Now it comes to the top two, Man City and Arsenal. And I'm going to stick with the same top two as last season. Arsenal, Man City. Man City, I just cannot see them not winning the title. I just can't see any other outcome. I know some fans might be saying, oh, Man City have got a little bit weaker. Yeah, maybe they have, but I don't think they're going to sell like Bernardo Silva and that now. Walker's not going anymore. Bernardo Silva's not going. I think they made solid replacements for the players who've lost. Gundogan went. Kovacic ain't a bad replacement. He's Premier League experience. I know he had a poor season at Chelsea last season, but if you look over the time he had at Chelsea, he wasn't too bad. I think he was quite underrated for them. So it's a good replacement for Man City. Josko Gvardiol, fantastic replacement. That'll bolster their defence even more, make them even more difficult to beat. And I think the style of play they have is fantastic, the way they changed last season. If they stick to that, there's no beating them, I don't think. So that's why I've put Arsenal second. They've made very good business, and I think this is a kind of make or break season for Arsenal, to be honest, because this has probably been their best transfer window they've had in a long time, really. Like the business they've made. Declan Rice, fantastic addition. They've made the right choice keeping Partey, in my opinion, so they've got competition all over the pitch. Havertz, interesting to see how he does, because obviously Arteta said he's versatile, and he has been trying out players in different positions. Will it work by doing that? I don't know, because if he keeps trying to change players' positions, he doesn't have like a plan. He's just trying to switch them over and over. Like, if he's going to do that, at least try and know where you want to play your players instead of just switching them all about to try and test it out. But I think Arsenal will be good this season. I don't necessarily think they'll be like top of the table all really. I think there will be more like contenders all season, because I think City will just dominate yet again. So yeah, Arsenal are the team I'm going to put in second. I think defensively they're going to look a bit better with all this inverted roles they're going to have. Timber, I think, was fantastic in the Community Shield. I think he'll be one to watch out for. So is Saliba. Striker situation, it's going to be interesting as well, because Balogun's gone. Well, he's not gone yet, but he's been linked with the moves away to Monaco and into Milan. Jesus is injured for a bit, so it's interesting to see what happens there. Will they play Trossard in the false nine? Will they play Nketiah or even Balogun? Not sure. But yeah, I think Man City are just going to be too good to be beaten for the Premier League title. So yeah, that's my Premier League predictions, everyone. Thank you very much for watching this video. I will see you next time.